Have you ever wondered if it's possible to live in sync with your cycle? Do you struggle with a negative mindset around your period? Are you wondering if it's possible to be feminist and anti-birth control? We're going to explore these questions and so much more in the Managing Your Fertility podcast, because this is about helping you live a whole and full life. I'm your host and guide, Bridget Busacker, joining you in this journey of exploration related to women's healthcare, feminism, and fertility awareness. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hey, welcome to the Managing Your Fertility podcast. Today, I want to talk about NFP being medical care. I think a lot of times when we hear natural family planning, we go into the ministry mindset. We're thinking this is something that's provided through the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church supports it. The Catholic Church promotes it. This is something that Catholics do. Whatever that phrase that comes to mind when it comes to NFP, it's usually based in something religious. And I think we oftentimes forget to include the conversation that it's also a science and that the Catholic Church supports this. When it's supporting natural family planning, it is supporting a woman understanding her body, her physiology, her biology, and the way that her body works. And in supporting as well the theological implications that natural family planning brings to a marriage and helping a couple to grow in virtue and grow in self-control and practicing abstinence. And so it's very much a both and. It is not one or the other. But I think in a lot of conversations that I see, NFP very much gets focused in on the theological elements of NFP, and not so much how practically it is helping a woman understand her body. Because there are couples who choose not to use NFP, and I'm not saying that they should be using birth control or promoting that by any means. I'm in full alignment with Catholic Church teaching on this. But they may find that they don't really want to use it when it comes to family planning, and they would rather be open to life and open to the number of children without using any type of contraception as well. And I would make the argument that, well, that's totally okay to do, and that's not problematic at all, from a church teaching perspective as well. It's not helping the woman understand her body. You can absolutely chart your cycle and choose to not use the family planning portion of it. You may say, we are, whatever, reasons may be at play, you're in a good position to welcome as many children. You really don't see any major issues coming up or any concerns that you say, wow, we really need to implement more discernment around family size. I would make the argument you should still chart your cycle, because I think that medical aspect is really important. It's really important in understanding how your body works and what's going on with yourself, with your cycle, because as women, our bodies, yes, they're changing as we're aging, but our cycle, we're going through different phases and our hormones are changing, and the ways in which we respond, receive, react, vary throughout our cycle. So we're talking about roughly through a month, you are going to experience and feel things differently. And I think when we're in tune with that, we're better able to pair decision-making and virtue building together, because we know, oh, okay, you know what? I'm feeling really emotional right now, and really energy-wise, I'm depleted. My period's coming, my period's here. Okay, I know this about myself. I know that, yes, I have the opportunity to take care of myself in this, maybe slowing down, whatever it might be, but also maybe I'm in a position where I can't slow down. Maybe there are a lot of big things coming up for my life, whether you're married or single, and you don't have that opportunity, but you have the knowledge to know, okay, this is happening. Maybe there are some adjustments you can make, at the end of the night, instead of adding one more thing or saying yes to going out with friends or whatever it might be. Say, what, I need that night to slow down, to check in with myself, to get some extra rest, because we have so much going on, or I have so much going on, depending on your state in life. And I think like those aspects of understanding your cycle help you in being more aware of yourself and the ways in which you're making decisions. So it's not something you use as a crutch. It's not saying, I'm on my period, I can't do anything, or like this, I'm just a mess because I'm on my period. No, you're not a mess. This is how your body works. How can you work with it? And I think that's the component that we don't emphasize as much as we need to, especially in the Catholic Church, and how we promote NFP and how we promote this as an opportunity for women to really understand their bodies. I do think it's shifting. I think these conversations are starting to happen. They need to happen so much more. And I think that aspect of recognizing NFP is out-of-pocket medical care. We need to say it. I think we're really quick to talk about the heart stuff and the theological aspects in our spiritual lives. We're body and soul. Our body is not a shell.
Our body is very much a part of who we are, who God made us to be. And there's a reason he made us with these hormones and these physiological changes that we go through as women. And it's important for us to understand it. It's an opportunity for us to love ourselves better, to love ourselves even more, and in a holy way. I'm not talking about in a narcissistic way or a self-obsessed way, but to really be able to love the ways in which God made us, to have that self-compassion. And the two greatest commandments: love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, body, strength. And the second, love your neighbor as yourself. There is something that we need to lean into here to say, as yourself, like, what does that look like? What does healthy loving of yourself look like? And I think for women, it's embracing our whole selves. It's bringing our whole selves to the table, and it's embracing our whole selves. It's living an integrated life. It's not turning off our reproductive health systems. It's not saying that, we need to eliminate this part of ourselves when we show up at the office or we show up at the kitchen table because somehow it's not welcome. These cultural narratives need to be silenced because they're lies. They are from the bowels of the devil, to be really honest with you, because it's not true. We are needed, our whole person, our whole self, and God made us not to turn off parts of ourselves. He made us in our whole selves as women, and we need to bring our full self and show up to our lives, to the everyday, to the big events and the small events as ourselves, as women, with our reproductive health, with the ways in which our bodies work. It's not an accident how we're made. It's not a curse. And I think that is something that, we need to recognize. And so I think that is where that both and comes in. The spiritual reality in recognizing the goodness in which we're made, and the deeper realities of how good we are made as women by a loving and good God. And that we have this opportunity to understand ourselves and to recognize the science of our bodies and the ever evolving understanding of women's bodies through scientific discovery is also a good. And to pair those up together, to understand who we are, how we're made, how we work, can serve us, can serve the ways in which we show up, and can be a part of our path to sanctity. It can be our path to holiness because we are understanding who we are. And therefore, we're able to make decisions based on this self-knowledge and saying, okay, God, I see how you've made me. I see how this works. I'm going to make decisions that are informed by who I am and who you've made me to be as a woman, and then specifically as myself, a unique and unrepeatable being, so that I can show up and live virtuously. I can show up and say, I am fully self-aware here and showing up in my life and how I'm loving people and serving people. And we're not using, our reproductive health as a way to use others or influence others, because you can use your reproductive health if you want to influence others through, it's my period and I can't do anything. Well, yes, there's an element of your body physiologically is worn out. I mean, you're losing iron because you're bleeding, but also your body is able to do this and should be able to function on a daily basis, that you can still show up to the duties and the things that you have to complete, you have to show up for in your vocation, in your state of life. And I think those are the spaces that we need to talk about more, to build awareness and to bring awareness to women about this reality, about this possibility of showing up as our full selves. We can't do it if we're not self-aware. We can't do it if we're not working on ourselves. And again, I mean this in a way that's not self-obsessed. It's in a way of saying, okay, God, I see how you've made me, and I choose to show up, and I choose to lean into the dignity of who I am. And we can't do that if we're numbing out, or we're not paying attention, or we don't understand how our bodies work. I'm going to make that argument. We're not going to be able to fully integrate as women when we are turning off a part of us that is integral and specific and unique to us as women, that we are capable of creating life. And our reproductive system impacts our hormones and our health. That doesn't mean you have to have a baby or that is your only job, but it is a physiological reality to your body that is important to understand, to make sense of your gifts and your abilities and who you are as woman, which is a good and beautiful thing. So, there's this component, this both and. We have the physiological and we have the theological, which is incredible. It is totally incredible. As a side note, I'm going through the original text of Theology of the Body, and it's blowing my mind. One, it is far more philosophical than I realized. And two, even though it is more philosophical than I realize, it is a heart workout, because I am realizing just how important our bodies are, just how important the story of our bodies really are. And it is blowing my mind. It is breaking open my heart. It is causing me to, finally address some deep wounds that are still there for me. And in the process of healing, I think this is what is so beautiful about theology of the body and the reality of the physiological and the theological happening that can happen through fertility awareness as well, is that we are recognizing body and soul and the importance of our bodies. We're recognizing the way in which God made our bodies and the importance of our bodies. And I don't think that's emphasized enough. God bless Christopher West and other prominent individuals who really lead the way in speaking and sharing on the news of theology of the body, because it really is a game changer. And I've thought this in hearing Christopher West speak and listening to podcasts about theology of the body. And, I had the great opportunity of speaking with Damon Owens on the podcast about theology of the body and just the richness of it. And now going through the actual text, I'm like, this is life-changing. This is a game changer in a world where we don't understand our bodies and we abuse our bodies every day. And our bodies are very important. We are our bodies. It is not something we shed at the end of our life. We will be resurrected at the end of the world. Our bodies are resurrected. We are body and soul. And to understand that and to understand that richness is probably going to take a lifetime for us. We bear the cross. We bear the marks of original sin. We also bear the story of resurrection and restoration. Thanks be to Jesus Christ. We have that. And we are able to see the goodness in the resurrection, and that our bodies are capable of being somewhat restored, not fully to pre-original sin, but dang, what we have available to us now is so beautiful. And I just think, wow, what a time to be alive. Seriously, what a time to be alive, to be able to have this richness and this teaching. And we're not the Israelites waiting, hoping for the promise of a king to come and the healing that we were desperately needing. That healing and that mercy is available to us. And I think in the process of all this, theology of the body can be actualized and lived out through fertility awareness, because it's a recognition: my body matters. My body is important. The story of my body, the beauty and the wounds, they matter. They matter to my story. They matter to who I am. They matter who I am in the light of the resurrection and eternity. And so to be able to say, I understand as a woman how my body works, how God made me, and I embrace that, that is healing. That is powerful, because no other point in history have we had this. Yes, you could say pre-sexual revolution, we understood babies and bonding. We understood the impact of marriage between a man and a woman and the importance of children and how that works and plays out in a marriage and all of this. But we still, as women, did not understand our bodies. Abortion and contraception, were being proliferated to an extent in the late 1800s. There were conversations around birth control in, different cultures, and how many thousands of years ago did they have access to these types of things? Did they create something? Sure, they probably did. We're in a time now where we have knowledge and we have information. And I think from the wounds and the hurts of the sexual revolution, which, our grandparents were reeling from, our parents were living out, and they didn't have the tools and resources to help us and help these younger generations in understanding our bodies. We're starting to realize the weight in which that carried. And that when we separate sex from the ability to create life, when we separate sex from the institution of marriage between a man and woman, when we separate sex from the goodness in how we are made and the ways in which our bodies work together, receiving and giving as man and woman, we have a lot of wounds and a lot of crap that we're navigating. And it's hard. And it is really hard when you bear those wounds and you're struggling with that. I feel like I'm getting a little tangential, but I want to create somewhat of a bigger picture here around how fertility awareness is that step towards healing, is that step towards these wounds and these places we have where we don't understand ourselves as women. And truly through the sexual revolution, we were told that as women, we would be happy having sex with whoever we want. We don't have to be constrained by motherhood and by having children. And yet we still don't understand how our bodies work. We're now told as healthcare that you can take hormonal contraception and turn off your body, or you can have an abortion if a child occurs, if that's not something you want. We're not told how our bodies work. We're not told and shared and educated on, this is how your body works. This is what's happening in your cycle. We have the science. We have the information. It's about sharing it with women because women aren't stupid. And I can't believe I have to say this out loud, but the amount of times I have to say that out loud is ridiculous. That women aren't stupid and women can learn their bodies, because in a lot of different places and spaces of public health and medical research, there is an underlying messaging that this is too complex and women don't have time and they can't do it. What a slap in the face to us as women. What a slap in the face, especially in a time when there are more women going to college than men. Clearly, we're not dumb, okay? And not to say you have to go to higher ed to be smart. We are inherently gifted with knowledge and the ability of self-awareness, and we have a duty and a right to grow in those spaces. And we should not be limiting women from understanding how their bodies work. We have a right to that information, especially when you get into the conversations around informed consent. For someone to make informed healthcare decisions, they have to have all of the options on the table. You can't be told, well, you can take hormonal contraception or otherwise you can figure it out yourself. That should not be a reality. It is unfortunately a reality in a lot of places in the medical community and in the service and the care that women receive. But, we actually should have access to this information because it is scientifically being studied. I know incredible doctors who are researching, studying, and they're sharing this information with their patients. They're pushing to have this information shared more widely, not wildly, but maybe widely in medical communities and in education. And it's such a slow process that we as women really have to advocate for ourselves. And I think that's why you see, at least for me, why I'm here and educating so many women and I'm passionate about it is because I'm not going to wait around for the medical system to figure themselves out. It's really going to be a both and. It's going to come from the top down and the bottom up, and they're going to have to meet somewhere, and it's going to be messy, but it's got to happen because we're too precious. We're too valuable. Our dignity is too important to let this go by the wayside anymore. And we have way too much hurt that we are seeing lived out. And enough is enough, right? Enough is enough. So NFP, and I use these interchangeably: natural family planning, fertility awareness, depending on your state in life. It's really about charting your cycle, understanding your body as a way to honor and respect your dignity as a woman, and to make sure that you are taking care of your whole self. And then there's the practical aspect when you are viewing it as medical care. Insurance companies, they might provide partial coverage, full coverage. It depends on so many factors, which is also challenging. So you have that going against you and you have to budget for it. You have to budget for getting coverage for NFP. And I shouldn't laugh, but it's just like, this is insane. Like, I want women to understand their bodies. I know there are others who want this too. And yet we have this pushback top down that's like, no, women don't need that. But, oh, you want birth control for free? Got it. No problem. It's like, well, I'd like to understand why I'm having painful periods. Okay, thanks. Bye. But that's just not happening yet. So we are the women that are going to be in the trenches, and we are leading the way for the next generation. So if you're listening to this and you're like, man, I'm tired, I've had some crap doctor's appointments, or you're thinking, man, I want to chart my cycle, it's going to be so great. And you hear this and you're thinking, oh, well, this doesn't sound so pleasant. I want to tell you that the fight is worth it. It is worth it because you are paving the way for future generations. I know it can be hard because in the short term, it's like, I just want answers. I want to figure this out for myself. The end. Goodbye. But this is a much bigger battle. This is a much bigger battle that you are a part of. And if you choose to participate, if you choose to learn your cycle and you choose to bring this information to your doctors, you are a part of the fight. You are rising up and joining the ranks. And this is a really important fight to be a part of. And there are so many incredible instructors and certified methods, and they're doing their best too in offering support and scholarships and financial packages to help you if you're thinking, okay, practically, how much money are we talking? And I'll add a caveat here. I have a free download for NFP budgeting that I'll link in the show notes. If you're just like, I need some support here and I need to have a ballpark of numbers, I provide you with that. I give you some examples of different methods and different categories so that you can look and see, okay, what are we really talking about here? So you can start to think, if I'm charting my cycle or I want to chart my cycle, okay, what does this process look like? What does it look like to call my insurance company? Like, if I need to do that and I don't have coverage, how much are we talking? What do I need to budget for? These are real questions. And I think we really need this shift from a ministry mindset, as oftentimes what I like to call it. And we need this to be both theological, physiological. We need this to be about holistic health, and holistic meaning body, soul, Like this is the both and conversation. This isn't one or the other. And I think that is the beauty of fertility awareness, is that it brings you in deeper awareness of your body and the goodness of your body and your soul and the things that you need and the ways in which you are being called on to virtue and the ways in which, God wants to use you, because he has a mission and a plan for you. You are here on purpose, for a purpose. Your purpose might be to proliferate the message of NFP and fertility awareness and educate women. If that's your mission, please join the ranks, because there are far too few women in this space. And we need more. Maybe you're called in other spaces and other places, and that is good too. But whatever your calling is, showing up with your whole self and your whole body matters. You matter. Your body does matter. It does play into this, and it's a huge part of who you are. And it's that both and. And I think that is something that I see so much more in the conversations, especially with theology of the body. It's the both and, it's the both and, it's the both and, because the body is good, the soul is good, and both are important in your story. And I want to close this out kind of short and sweet today. I don't know how short. Medium short. How about that? I really want to encourage you to think about charting your cycle. And if you're listening and you're thinking again, I'm married and we don't use it for family planning, that's okay. I'm not telling you that you need to, but I'd really like you to chart your cycle. I'd like you to try it. I'd like you to see what it brings to you and to your daily life, and just the building of your schedule and your routines. Because when you understand and chart your cycle, you can use that information from your cycle to plan your workouts so that you have really effective workouts. I know women personally, and just professionally, and seeing them and the work that they're publishing, like Dr. Stacey Sims, where they are utilizing the information of their cycles to work out, and they are having better lifting, better running, like all across the board. They're just better athletes, and they're seeing improved numbers as far as how heavy they can lift, great running times, incredible energy. And they're doing it because they're following the flow of their cycle and when they're going to have more energy, when they're going to have less energy, and how they're taking care of their body. That's crazy. That's crazy amazing. I also know someone, and she helps you in aligning your schedule and your cycle so that you can start to kind of plan ahead. So if you're like what I was explaining in the beginning, like if you're feeling lower energy with your period and you're feeling, okay, things are a little bit slower, you can look ahead and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to schedule more of my work meetings a little bit later in the cycle when I'm getting closer to ovulating and I'm going to have a lot more energy. I'm going to do more of my deep work or some of those emails and just like those tasks in the time, those few days of my period where I can really knock those things out. And I just want some quiet to myself and I can just do that. Those are things you can do. And again, it's not that you have to do it, but the fact that it's there for you and you can try it and see what it's like, and having that self-awareness, game changer. That is a game changer for you. And I'm going to link these different people that I'm talking about doing cycle syncing with your workouts and cycle syncing with your schedules, because I want you to have resources for this. If you're in a position where you chart your cycle and you're realizing like, I need more support, or I have questions about my cycle, or I'm still not sure what's going on, because maybe you're doing it through an app or you haven't formally worked with an organization with an instructor, I'm going to encourage you to take that next step to work with an instructor so you can really understand your body. Because maybe you're in a point where you're like, the data is good, but I'm kind of confused by it. That's okay. That's pretty normal if you are doing this on your own without support. And I'm going to recommend my course to you if you're like, I'm at a loss for what method to pick. I really don't know what would be a good fit for me. Like maybe you're using the Fem app and you're like, I'm not sure if I want to work with Fem or not. I'm going to recommend my course to you. Maybe you're in a different place though, where you're using the Fem app, you're loving it, and you just want to find that Fem instructor. I have databases for you for that so that you can find the person that you need. I really want women to see the beauty in understanding their bodies. And if you want to use NFP in your marriage for family planning, that's great. And it's available for you to do that. If that's not what you're interested in, or you're not married, or you're thinking that's just not what I need right now, charting your cycle is still so helpful because it's understanding you. This isn't separate from you. And I think that's the piece that we have just had rammed down our throats for so long, really since the 60s, when we separated babies and bonding, when we separated the ability to bond with your spouse and to the possibility of creating life. And not to say women had education about their cycles then, they didn't. There was still a lot of confusion about that. Excuse me. And I think now we're in a space where women are tired of feeling like crap from hormonal contraception. They're tired of the medical implications and what we're told are, minor symptoms that are not. Low libido, not a minor symptom, pretty much a bummer. Minor symptom of like mid-cycle bleeding, not fun, also kind of concerning. The fact that like you can have issues as a contact lens wearer because your eyes can potentially change and you may have more dryness, shape of your eye can be impacted. It's like, what? Hell no, I don't want that. And I'm not saying that happens with every woman, but that's the whole point. Hormonal contraception is not a one size fits all. Fertility awareness is a one size fits all because it's not about one size. It's about saying, hey, you are going to apply this, and then you are going to actually learn your body and tailor it to your needs. So it's actually very specific to you, and that it tailors to your unique and unrepeatability. And that it's something that allows you to understand really specifically you. And hormonal contraception can't do that for you because it is a concoction of a variety of hormones and synthetic hormones and chemicals. And it's not going to honor the specific needs that you have for your cycle. So you may have one woman who's doing pretty well on hormonal contraception. It's going okay. And another who's feeling like trash, and someone who's in the middle. And fertility awareness, you're not putting anything inside of your body. You're paying attention to what's going on inside your body as is. And then being able to say, okay, do we need some extra support here? Is the cycle doing well? Are we ovulating optimally? And again, ovulating optimally does not mean because this woman has to have a baby. Actually, ovulating optimally is really important in showing that, oh, your body is doing a really good job and your body is doing really well. Your reproductive system is really healthy because that means your body is healthy as a woman. And that's a good thing. So if you are listening to this and thinking, okay, I want to ditch the contraception. I want to like try something else. I want to understand my body. Let's do it. I'm going to include resources in the show note and the resources in the show notes so that you have support and you're not feeling totally alone or listening to this and thinking, yeah, okay, great, Bridget. Now what? Because I want to be honest with you in the journey. I want to be honest about the process. It will be a process if you're ditching birth control. It will be a process if you're learning fertility awareness for the first time with an instructor, or if you're learning it period for the first time and you've like never done this before. It is a learning process. It's a learning curve, but you can do it. And there are experts who can help you. Praise God, there are more and more people who are talking about this, who are in the medical community trying to promote changes. And there are more and more instructors who are being trained and they're certified and they're here to help you. And I want you to be able to connect with those people so that you can get the care that you need. And so that you start to build confidence so that when you are in a doctor's office where they're not supporting you, you know what to advocate for. You know how to stand up for yourself. This is really important. And this is medical care. It is not only care for your soul. It's not simply a ministry. This is about you living your best life, living an integrated life, taking care of your body and your soul. Okay, thanks, friends. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, I'm always available by email or through the DMs here on social media. I'm so grateful that you're here and grateful that you're listening. I'd love to ask if you are loving this podcast and you're enjoying the different interviews that we have here and the different conversations taking place, could you leave a review? That would mean so much to me and allows for me to be able to get into more people's headphones and sharing this message of the goodness of our bodies and the goodness of fertility awareness. Thank you so much. God bless you and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe, share with your friends, and help expand the conversation around women's health. If you'd like to learn more about fertility awareness, visit www.managingyourfertility.com for more information, resources, guides, and so much more.